We got a good question here. This one comes from Let's Toast Media talking about the big noon matchup this weekend. Let's Toast Media is obviously high in the Wolverines because they ask, can Michigan win by 20+ over Penn State?
No, is the quick answer to that question. I truly love the audacity, though. You know, as my man Tyler has said throughout the year, it seems to be on sale this year because everybody's coming out with these wild takes. Look, it's not just disrespectful to Penn State. I don't know that you can open up that sort of margin on Penn State. Why? Because it was 10-10 at halftime against Indiana, dog. Tell the truth, shame the devil. All right. You were in a one-possession game with Maryland. Don't do that. Don't do that to Michigan. Just say, hey, look, we play a top 10 team. It's going to be the first top 10 matchup between Michigan and Penn State since 1997. And have fun with that. Why do you expect a team that doesn't actually look to run up the score on Penn State, who has been undefeated and has what I think is the best freshman football player in the sport in Nick Singleton? And by the way, a top 5 rush defense that your man Blake Corum is going to have to try to get through. Nah, man, I don't think Tyler, you know me for being wild with the takes from time to time. Like, I have my reason for being wild with the takes, but, like, that's a wild take. Toast Media, a wild boy.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I also don't see a path for Michigan to win by 20+. That's just, I mean, it's one thing for Michigan. It's just straight up disrespectful to Penn State and what they've accomplished this season. Like, that's a good football team. And to think that they're just going to get run over. Now, I could see a scenario where Michigan sort of is in control of the whole game, but they could be in control for the whole game and win by 14. Even 17 would seem like a lot. 20+ is asking a lot.
Yeah, and it's asking a lot in a game that I expect to be low scoring, quite honestly. Like, right. I don't expect this one to be that much different from perhaps a Penn State-Michigan game from 1995, which is to say you're going to see a lot of rushing, a lot of rush defense, a lot of clock running, and then it's going to be, 17-14 at the end of the game. It's just, that's a lot of points, man.
I agree. Now watch us next week have to come back on the show and apologize to Let's Toast Media because Michigan ran up the score. Haven't normally seen that from Jim Harbaugh, but then again, we've been wrong before. All right, this one come from Sans Basing 98. Bear with me because this is a little bit of a long one, but I like this one. All right. RJ, do you realistically see a path for a Big 12 team to get into the playoff? If it's between an undefeated Clemson, USC, or UCLA, or a one-loss Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, or one-loss Ohio State, or team up north, so Michigan, I just can't see an undefeated Oklahoma State or TCU getting in over these teams. So obviously very complex situation here. In this scenario, do you think an undefeated Oklahoma State or TCU would get in over any of these other teams?
There is a special place in my heart for my mans who has created the College Football Playoff Selection Committee doomsday
worst nightmare
narrative. Yeah, because I love those because I hate the College Football Playoff as it stands. I really, really hate it, and I'm way out in front on that. Okay, I'm saying, please expand the playoff, you cowards. 2 years before everybody else gets on board and before they decide to actually take my advice. That said, you know what the selection committee is about, baby. They about brands, baby. You know, like if it ain't what you think it's gonna be about. Okay. If you have to explain to somebody what Texas Christian is, that's a good rule of thumb. We're not going to put them in the playoff. All right. They watch as much football as probably you do, which is say not as much as I do. Okay. Because it's my job to watch that much football. But Clemson has created a name for itself, right? You're going to take the two teams that play in the SEC championship game. If that's Tennessee and Alabama, if that's Georgia and Alabama, those are going to be your two teams, right? And then you're going to take the Big Ten champ, provided it's Ohio State or Michigan. Where I think this gets interesting is if the Big Ten West champ manages to get a win in the Big Ten title game. I don't think that's going to go their way. I think, as a matter of fact, you can take a look at what Baylor and Texas Christian were doing about 7 years ago, and you can learn from that. Don't nobody sitting in that boardroom at the Gaylord Texan give a good damn about what's going on in the Big 12 outside of Oklahoma and Texas. They don't give a good damn about what's going on in the Pac-12 outside of USC and Oregon, okay? Worst part about all of this is the year the Big Ten could get two teams into the playoff if only they were Ohio State and Michigan playing for the Big Ten championship game and not playing, Thanksgiving weekend, the game, it's a big deal. We like it, but we like a rematch for the title much more. So, chalk. No fun in that, but it's chalk. It's chalk, Tyler.
So you're saying in this scenario, undefeated Oklahoma State or TCU gets left out?
Yes.
It's hard to argue.
I mean, look, who did they beat? Themselves. And who's going to look at that on paper and say, I'm not going to give you credit, Texas Christian, for beating Oklahoma State, or vice versa? Okay? You got a better chance with one-loss Texas getting in there as the Big 12 champ than you do either one of those teams being undefeated, simply because nobody respects them in that room.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. This truly would be the nightmare scenario for the College Football Playoff Committee. And I guess my only answer to this is maybe, because I think context is everything in this case. If Ohio State were to just completely drop a game and get blown out in a game where everyone's like, what just happened there? Maybe they'd be left out. But it's hard for me to imagine a one-loss Ohio State or Bama or Georgia, any of those teams getting left out of the College Football Playoff. But hey, this might be the year of chaos. We've teetered with it. We've toyed with it. We have not gone full chaos yet, not like 2007, but maybe. Still a lot of time left. All right, this last question. This one comes from Allie. Now that Matt Rhule has been fired by the Panthers, where do you think he will coach next? I'm glad Allie didn't specify college or NFL, because maybe Matt wants to stay in the NFL despite everyone just assuming he's going to come back to the college ranks.
Or he could do the Todd Haley and decide he wants to coach high school for a little while because he's getting $40 million regardless. Like, my lead to all of this is, what's the buyout? That's the question I ask every time a coach gets fired in season. What's the buyout? Okay, Scott Frost, $15 million. Okay, I think for Paul Chryst, it's $15 million, somewhere in there. David Tepper is going to pay Matt Rhule $834,000 a month over the next 2 years to sit on his couch. Look, man, I don't care if you got a reputation as a program builder, and that's the reason you got the job at Carolina. That's the reason they took you from Temple to Baylor. That's hard. It's really hard. You know what's easy? Sitting on my couch, watching my bank account get filled up with $834,000 every month. Like, if I got to go coach Pee-wee, flag football, high school, and then I get to do something I really like doing, without the pressures that come with, am I going to get fired tomorrow? Because that's the worst part about all of this. And that's why the buyout is so high, quite honestly, is because an athletic director, president, or in that case, team owner, has to be able to say, I'm going to eat this if I let you down, if I don't let you try to figure this part out. And I think that's entirely fair, because I believe the coaches want to coach. Now, Gus Malzahn took $21 million and decided he wanted to be at Central Florida. More power to him. But I just don't see it. I don't see it at the NFL level. I don't see it at the college level, at least this year. If not next year, then we'll see. But if he wants to get back in the profession, and coaches usually do, that time will come. But as we don't even know what other jobs are going to be available this year, just sit and wait. Because there's no rush. I mean, if you're Matt Rhule and you looked at Nebraska, why would you want that job? Can they pay you $40 million over the next 2 years? No? Okay, is it going to cause more stress in your life and to your family? Are you going to have to uproot them from Carolina to move them to Lincoln, Nebraska? Yeah? Do they want to do that? Probably not, dog. Tyler, none of this makes sense to me. I don't know what we're thinking about sometimes when we think about the coaches who got fired with a lot of money in their... On this show, my producers are Tyler Wojak and Catherine Donnelly. One of the things they got a kick out of is Ed Orgeron saying, how much you going to pay me to go home? $17.5 million? Show me the door. You know, Tyler, tell me why you think perhaps Matt Rhule want to come back, or just maybe you agree with me. I don't know.
No, it is totally beyond me. College coaches, well, all coaches really, who get fired and, get these massive buyouts, who want to go back into coaching, it makes no sense to me. If someone paid me $40 million to not work, you know what I would do? Not work. I would just go to the beach and enjoy it. But college coaches are a different breed, man. They live and die by it. They like spending 20 out of 24 hours locked up in their office watching film. So I don't know. Maybe Matt Rhule takes some time off. Maybe he gets back into it right away, because I think there is something to be said about these coaches, and just the nature of the business, and having that the way they live their life is just different than you and I. It just is. And it might not make sense to us, but Matt Rhule is certainly going to have a lot of options if he does want to get back into coaching. I think that's for sure.
I think that's a really good point to make about what they do, but I'm also going to point out, don't nobody pick out your, you pick out your clothes? No. Somebody else does that. You know what you're wearing to work every day. You have the one job. You don't pay the mortgage. You don't pay the light bill. You don't take people to school. You don't pick people up from school. You don't arrange daycare. I can keep going here, right? As a quasi stepdad, I got feelings about how much we want to talk about how different the job is for some folks that work in professional sports or even professional athletes. But I will give this much to Matt Rhule. You got a hobby, dog. I know you do because you're human. Go chase that hobby. Maybe you want to be like Paul Newman. You want to get in a Datsun and you want to go win a national title racing. I don't know. But see that there's more to life perhaps right now than coaching football. Maybe that's it. Tyler, do we have anything else left on the rundown today?
Nope, that's it. All I was going to say was Matt Rhule might go to one school car pickup line, do that one time, be like, all right, I'm getting back into coaching. Retirement was fun. You can't pay me $40 million to do this. But that's it. That's all the questions we had.
See, Tyler went fishing, but I'm not going to bite. I'm going to leave that right where it is and say that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.